I'd like to call to order this regular meeting of the Lincoln-Lancaster County Planning Commission of November 18th, 2020. A printed agenda is available outside the hearing room, and a copy of the full agenda, including the staff reports, is available at the front of the chambers with the clerk. The Open Meetings Act is posted just inside the doors at the back of the room. In order to meet the required social distancing protocols, we must limit the number of people inside the chambers. Staff is assisting individuals who are present and wish to testify on items on today's agenda by ensuring that each person has signed in. Staff will direct you into the chambers based on what items you are testifying on and your position on that item. Please note we will only bring those attendees into the chambers for the agenda item they are interested in when that hearing begins. We are requiring attendees in the chambers to sit in a socially distanced manner 6 feet apart from other people not in your immediate group. If there are more than 25 people attending for a particular agenda item, staff will bring additional attendees into the chamber as people testify and then leave the chambers. Once you have testified, you should exit the chambers using the doors to the right of the desk, and then the next testifier can come to the microphone and begin testifying. In addition, for the added protection of all those involved, the Planning Commission will be allowing testimony on agenda items by video conference for individuals who pre-registered with the Planning Department prior to today's hearing. This testimony will be taken following the completion of the live testimony for each item based on position. Based on estimations, we are staggering the times of various hearings over several hours. These times are identified in parentheses on the agenda. We are encouraging attendees to arrive no more than 15 minutes before their scheduled hearing. Please note that an agenda item will not begin before the time posted. In the event that the allocated hearing times go quicker than estimated, there will be breaks in the hearing. If you parked in the parking garage across the street to the north, the gate is open and no parking coupons are needed. Out of courtesy for those attending this meeting, commissioners, and the staff, cellular phone usage is not permitted in these chambers during any portion of this meeting. We appreciate your cooperation. Please note the Planning Commission action today is final on the following agenda items. 1.2, Special Permit 20009A. 1.3, Special Permit 20039. 1.4, Special Permit 20040. 1.5, Special Permit 20043, and 1.6, Special Permit 20044. Any aggrieved person may appeal final action of the Planning Commission to the City Council or the County Board by filing a notice of appeal with the clerk within 14 days following the action of the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission action on all other items is a recommendation to the City Council or County Board. Normally, our first item of business is approval of the minutes, but we have a commission member that's arriving late, so we're lacking a quorum right now. So we're going to go ahead and proceed on to the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda will be called at the same time and will not be scheduled for a separate public hearing unless there is a request from someone wishing to speak or at the request of a commission member. I will ask Jerry to read all of the consent agenda items into the record. Once those items are read, she will ask if there is anyone wishing to speak. If you wish to speak on an item on the consent agenda, we would ask that you stand and state that item. That item will then be removed from the consent agenda and scheduled as a separate public hearing under Section 3 of today's agenda. All items remaining on the consent agenda will be voted upon in total with a motion for approval. Jerry, will you please call the consent agenda?
Yes, thank you. Before I do that, I would note that item 1.2, Special Permit 20009A, is being removed from today's consent agenda for a public hearing. Item 1.1 is change zone 20031 from R2 Residential District to R4 Residential District on property generally located at 131 Northwest 22nd Street. Item 1.3 is Special Permit 20039 to allow for the sale of alcohol for consumption on and off the premises on property generally located at 1000 West Bond Street. Item 1.4 is Special Permit 20040 to allow for the sale of alcohol for consumption on and off the premises on property generally located at 1101 West Commerce Way. Item 1.5 is special permit 20043 to allow for outdoor drive-in movie events on property generally located at 3801 Northwest 34th Street. And item 1.6 is special permit 20044 to allow for the sale of alcohol for consumption off the premises on property generally located at 4640 Bear Avenue. And I would note that items 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, and 1.6 are final action by the Planning Commission unless appealed to either the county board or the city council within 14 days. Are there any ex parte communications to be disclosed on these items?
I don't see any.
Are there any ex parte communications that took place or additional information that you learned while visiting any of these sites?
I don't think we have those either.
Okay.
Is
Oh, go ahead.
If there's anyone here wishing to speak on any of these consent agenda items, will you please stand and state which item? No?
Point of clarification. With 5 of us here, isn't that a majority?
But Lorenzo wasn't here.
Huh?
Lorenzo wasn't here, so he
got
can't
it.
vote.
Got it.
I would entertain a motion.
I would move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Jerry?
Okay, that was Scheer. Okay, Campbell?
Yes.
Edgerton, sorry. Scheer?
Yes.
Beckius?
Yes.
Core?
Yes.
And, I'm sorry, Ball.
Yes.
Motion carried 5-0.
David?
David Carey, Director of the Planning Department. I did just want to note that Lorenzo could vote on the minutes if he has reviewed them and has reviewed the meeting itself. If that's not the case, then I think it would be prudent to wait until an additional member comes. But if that is the case, certainly you could vote on the minutes.
I would excuse myself from the vote, so I would wait.
Okay, thank you. Okay, there are no requests for deferral, so we will now proceed to public hearings. The staff will make a brief presentation. The applicant will then be requested to present his or her testimony, followed by those who wish to testify in support, followed by those who wish to testify in opposition. The staff will then be given an opportunity to respond to the testimony, and then the applicant shall have an opportunity for rebuttal. If during your testimony you have copies of documents or materials you would like distributed to Planning Commission members and/or included as part of the record, please provide that information to the clerk for distribution. There is a folder right up at the top of the desk here for that. Each person testifying should state their name and address and shall have 5 minutes to speak unless additional time is requested and granted. The timer will go off after 4 minutes, then you will have 1 minute to wrap up your testimony. The Planning Commission will vote immediately at the close of the public hearing unless the Commission votes to defer action or continue the public hearing. Jerry, will you call the first public hearing item, please?
Yes, item 3.1 is special permit 20009A to allow for propane tanks for up to 36,000 gallons of propane on property generally located at 1305 Broad Street. Staff recommendation is conditional approval. This is final action on this item unless appealed to the county board within 14 days.
Mr. Henriksen?
Yes, Steve Henriksen with the Planning Department.
Are there any ex parte communications to be?
Sorry.
That's okay.
Jumped the gun there a little bit.
Are there any ex parte communications to be disclosed?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Steve Henriksen with the Planning Department. This special permit application is just off of Highway 77 in the unincorporated community of Princeton. The grain elevators are over here onto the east side of the property. Generally, the propane tank would be on the southern side of the property. This is an amendment to a special permit that was previously approved on this site. This particular site was previously approved for 30,000 gallon propane tank. And instead, they're now wishing to build on the site 2 18,000 gallon propane tanks for a total of 36,000. Administratively, we can do minor increases, but this was more increase than we could do administratively. So if the special permit is not approved, they could still build the 30,000 gallon tanks. This application was reviewed by the Health Department, by Building and Safety, and by the State Fire Marshal, none of which have any objections to the site. The tanks will have to meet all of the standards in terms of the state fire marshal and any building code applications. Also, in this particular circumstance, there is really not any adjacent residential development. The nearest house was approximately 550 feet away to the west. There is, between Highway 77 and the Farmers Cooperative property, there is a bike trail that comes through. The bike trail is a little over maybe 230 feet away from where these tanks would be stored, and there would be a couple of buildings in between the trail and the tanks. None of the departments who reviewed this has stated any concern about the location of the propane tanks in relation to the bike trail or to Highway 77. So with that, we had recommended approval of this increase up to 36,000 gallons. The reason this came off consent is there is one person who is here today who is against the application. I'd be happy to answer any questions, and the applicant is also here as well.
Any questions? Okay. Applicant?
My name's Roger Kreifels. My address is 7330 York Lane, Lincoln, Nebraska. I am the propane manager for Farmers Cooperative, who is attempting to put these tanks in. Once again, we went through it. We had to make a change of plans with tanks. Otherwise, we would have just went ahead with the 30. But some things changed where we had to shuffle some other stuff around and put the 218s in. I guess we have a strong safety record. We've been in business for 100 years. We're well known for our safety record with the state fire marshal. We're on several committees for propane and stuff like that, safety. So I guess I'm not sure what else to say here, but.
Any questions?
No questions.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any testimony in support for this application? Any testimony in support? Any testimony in opposition? Any testimony in opposition? Okay. Any staff questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
I would move to close the public hearing.
Second, Beckius.
Jerry?
Okay. Ball?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
It sounded like Paul, didn't it?
These masks.
I know.
I know.
Campbell.
Yes.
Tracy's not here. Shear.
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
And Core.
Yes.
Motion carried 5-0.
I would move approval, Beckius.
I'll second Campbell.
Jerry?
Okay, this
Oh,
is,
hold on, do we have any discussion?
No.
Nope, we're good? Okay.
okay, this is for the conditional approval of special permit 20009A. Ball?
Yes.
Campbell?
Yes.
Shear?
Yes.
Beckius?
Yes.
Core.
Yes.
Motion carried 5-0. Okay, the next public hearing item is item 4.1, which is Comprehensive Plan Amendment 20001 to amend the 2040 Lincoln Lancaster County Comprehensive Plan to include the Lincoln Affordable Housing Coordinated Action Plan. Staff recommendation is for approval. Are there any ex parte communications to be disclosed on this item?
No, ma'am.
I don't see any.
Okay.
Gary? Is that not 1:30 yet?
Oh, that's
Oh,
right.
that's right.
So can we go ahead and do the minutes then while we're
Yes,
taking
I'm
our
sorry.
break?
Yes. Okay, we'll go back to do the minutes now that Tracy is here.
I would move that we approve the minutes.
Second, Beckius.
And I just want to clarify, these are the minutes from the regularly held meeting on October 28th, 2020.
That is correct.
Jerry?
Ball? Abstain?
Abstain, yes.
Okay. Campbell?
Yes.
Edgerton?
Yes.
Shear?
Yes.
Beckius?
Yes.
And Core.
Yes.
Motion carried 5-0.
Okay, we'll take a, oh, hold on.
Before we go into a little break until 1:30, I just wanted to officially welcome Lorenzo Ball to the Planning Commission. Appreciate your willingness to serve us, and we're excited to have you here for your first meeting.
Thank you.
Welcome,
very
welcome.
much.
Okay, we'll take a short break until 1:30 when we are scheduled to start the next item on our agenda.
Did you see that article in the paper that?
It's back to 1:30, so we're time to get back to our agenda here. So we're ready for item 4.1. Jerry, do
Okay.
you want to read it into
Yes,
the
I
record
will.
again?
Yes, thank you. Under public hearing is item 4.1, Comprehensive Plan Amendment 20001 to amend the 2040 Lincoln Lancaster County Comprehensive Plan to include the Lincoln Affordable Housing Coordinated Action Plan. Staff recommendation is for approval. Are there any ex parte communications to be disclosed?
Yes, I have a couple. So they presented the plan at the last Mayor's Neighborhood Roundtable meeting, so I saw it there. And we also had RGG, the consultant, present, I think it was last fall, so 2019, about a year ago or so, where I also participated in that.
Okay, noted, thank you.
Anyone else? No, okay. Andrew?
Andrew Theroff, Planning Department. This is a comprehensive plan amendment, and I just want to kind of set the table really quickly about the mechanics of how this works. It's been about a year since we've had a comprehensive plan amendment, so if you can believe that. So what we're doing is we are adopting this plan by reference, which means in Chapter 12 we have a list of all of our approved sub-area plans and other planning documents. This would essentially be added to that list, and then it would hyperlink to the plan itself. So by adopting this amendment, we are adopting the entire housing plan into the comprehensive plan. We're also working on an update to the comprehensive plan, which you're all aware of, for our 2050 update. So as we're developing housing goals and policies, this plan will be used as reference for that as well. With that, I'll pass it over to Dan in urban development.
See if the overhead's working here. Good afternoon, I'm Dan Marvin. I'm with the Urban Development Department. And I'm just going to take a little preview of what we did a couple of weeks ago and go through it real quickly, and then talk about some of the strategies that are in the report, and then open it up for questions, if that's okay. So last week, or 2 weeks ago, we kind of went through these slides, showed where Lincoln and Nebraska is in terms of housing affordability. You are here in Nebraska. Light yellow is a good thing. Being in the darker shades, or California, would show that you're in a state that's got a high amount of cost burden. When you go through the report, you'll see slides like this. It'll show you various comparisons of communities, both on rent and on owner-occupied. So you'll see that Lincoln compares very favorably with many of our peer cities, those peer cities being Madison, Iowa City, Champaign, Urbana, Springfield, and Omaha, Nebraska. One thing that I think many of you are very familiar with is Lincoln's a growing community. We're growing, we're getting larger, and it's very consistent growth. So we would expect that Lincoln and Lancaster County will grow from 320,000 people to 360,000 over the next 10 years, and the city of Lincoln will grow from 288,000 to 324,000. So unless we start all inviting our friends and neighbors that move to Lincoln to come and live here, we're going to need to find more places for people to live. And we did a little analysis on that as well. And what this does was it says that we'll need about 17,000 new places for people to live over the course of the next 10 years. And we're making the assumption that half of those people will be rental, homed or housed individuals, and half will be owner-occupied. Only reason we're using that is we're looking at history. My other job in the past used to be in the stock market, and we'd always say past does not predict the future. But we're using the previous 4 years to say lots of people are tending to rent more than they used to. There's a variety of reasons for that. And so based on that 50-50 split, there will be about 8,500 homes that will be rental properties, and there will be about 8,500 houses. When you get way out into the tail here, what you'll see is they break it down based on a variety of different categories. And for homes that are $200,000 or less, there'll be a need for about 3,700 homes there. And for rental properties, that are under $1,000, there will be the need for about 5,000 of those. The marketplace is capable of providing some of those options, but it becomes more difficult the lower the price point. The other area that we look at is areas for codes enforcements, and how do you go about identifying an area where we would like to try to have a proactive enforcement mechanism so that we are not using dilapidated housing as our method of housing people who are living with us who are at the lower end of the spectrum. So those were all the things that we showed the last time. What I wanted to try to go through are some of the strategies that are in here. There are 18 strategies. I put the page number in some of them, didn't look up all the page numbers. The ones that I didn't look up on the page number doesn't mean that I didn't like those as strategies. Just didn't happen to see them right off the top of the, so I was preparing for this. But the circled ones, I think, are ones that we've actually, I think, are underway on. So building strategic partnerships. This would be what we call the Chamber of Commerce mode, where we're creating an entity that will bring all the different players together under a strategic partnership to address that. We've had a number of meetings. Could this partnership be larger and greater? Absolutely. But we have had a number of meetings in that area to try to kick off a plan for strategic partnerships. Expanding nonprofits. This is just beefing up the existing infrastructure that we have. So when you have conversations with the Lincoln Housing Authority, NeighborWorks, are they ready, willing, and able to try to do more than what they're currently doing? Yes. Lending consortiums. That's something that I think we're far along on, and we're hopeful that we'd be able to address that next year. This would be to try to do gap financing on a variety of different projects for builders who are out there building and trying to figure out how to squeeze costs out so that you can provide the lowest cost unit to meet our affordability needs. Tax increment financing. We've done some of those projects already. How do we use TIF to incentivize affordable housing? We've voted a few of those. We've taken a few of those through Planning Commission already. Property tax incentives. Have difficulty in the state with doing abatements, but we think we can do district TIF that would be able to provide some of the elements of property tax abatements. Rental housing rehab programs. We already have a number of those in urban development. Other entities within Lincoln have done that. So I think we've gotten some. Can we beef up and do more? We would like to. Code enforcement. That's the map that I showed you. Are there areas that we can target for code enforcement? We think that the data suggests that we can. Urban development, building and safety. Other departments have been on a 12-week training program to try to figure out what are the metrics, what are the means by which you would go about doing that, and we're working with partners within the community to help expand that as well. Landlord seal of approval. These would be training programs that we think we can both do on the rental side for actually people who are renting and for landlords to have them better understand the complexities of the rental rules and regs. First-time homebuyer and rehab programs. Again, urban development already does that. NeighborWorks does that. We have other partners within the community, so it's a matter of trying to beef this up so that people can get the assistance they need to get over that first hurdle to get equity and to building up their first home. Land assembly. I think we've got some creative procedures that we might be able to do both on the city and through our building our lending consortium to be able to do those sorts of things. Land banks, we had our first land bank. First time you do something, it's very difficult. South of downtown did that. There's all kinds of problems in terms of traditional lending mechanisms. And so when you've gone through and done that and cleared all those hurdles, we think that that's a model for a much more permanent type of affordable housing longer term. But again, each one of these things are going to have to work together. Not one is going to solve the problem. Free or reduced infill lots. The city of Lincoln acquires land from time to time. Is there a way we can just RFP it out to nonprofits to be able to provide affordable housing options out there. That's what that would be speaking to. New site development strategies, increasing the number of low-income housing tax credit projects. What we've learned from the research in here, the City of Lincoln has not been very effective at attracting low-income housing tax credit projects. There are efforts at NIFA to be able to create, and I won't get into the weeds here, but there are 9% and 4% tax credit projects. I think there are ways of layering funds through the 4% tax credit project, and there are changes perhaps being contemplated through NIFA to be able to do more affordable housing using that tool, layering additional DED dollars, and then layering tax increment financing on top to be able to close the gap so that you would be able to have affordable housing options. Demonstration projects. There's stuff in the document that's rent-to-own or rent-to-own projects. I think there are some creative projects. I know that other committees have worked for tiny housing and other different types of projects. I think that falls into both the empty nester and other types of housing projects, because what the document speaks to is creating a diversity. You know, there are lots of different types of donuts out there. Your glazed donut's a wonderful donut, but there's a lot of variety out there. And so encouraging variety and people taking chances and doing other types of development projects to see if how the marketplace will respond to something like that. Empty nester we talked about. Neighborhood policy areas, I think you'll be seeing something on south of downtown shortly. Will be a redevelopment plan for that area, and understanding how different neighborhoods have different needs. So looking at the different neighborhoods for south of downtown, it might be that there's a high percentage of rentals in that neighborhood. So encouraging rental, it doesn't necessarily make sense in that area. Might be rehab would be a place to incentivize. There could be some areas with strip malls or other areas that would be an appropriate place to have infill housing. And so each neighborhood, and looking at those and identifying opportunities in different neighborhoods that are not necessarily the same for each one. And then, and the last one is to kind of ensuring policies and codes support the affordable housing objectives. We've learned a lot from south of downtown, where you have non-conforming lot sizes that make it difficult to rebuild on a property that's been demolished, because the depths of the lot, the width of the lot makes it very difficult, the parking requirements. So all of a sudden, we've learned a lot, and we need to adapt and make some changes, either in our zoning codes or make better use of the PUDs so that we can provide the kind of adaptive reuse for some of these infill lot areas. And with that, I'll open it up to questions, or I'll be back up here after you've had a chance to have some public comment.
Any questions for Mr. Marvin? Okay. Any testimony in support? Any testimony in support? Okay. Any testimony in opposition?
Yeah.
Good afternoon. I am technically here in a neutral capacity, so my name is Ann Post. I'm an attorney with Baylor Evans Law Firm, and I'm here today on behalf of the Home Builders Association of Lincoln, just to provide public comment on the housing affordability plan. So first, I'll start by thanking everyone for their efforts to put together this plan. Housing affordability has been an issue, a growing issue in Lincoln for years. We really support the efforts to both identify it as an issue, to really identify the causes of it, and concrete solutions to actually try and affect the issue. Listening to Director Marvin talk, especially even in the last few months, how they've identified the tools that Lincoln has and ways to try and use them to really push forward some of these, is just, well, I thought it was exciting, but that could be because I'm a real estate attorney. So anyway, so it's really great. There's a lot of concrete ways to use the tools that we have to address housing affordability. And there are several really suggestions, several action items, maybe to say that home builders looked at in this plan that we support in this plan, including, for example, expanding the use of tax increment financing for housing, and also a review of the codes with an eye towards affordability. That includes allowing a wider variety of housing by right in zoning, and also looking at parking requirements. Often that can be an issue, especially with infill development. But our additional comment would be to ask that we don't take tools off the table. For example, one issue that is brought up in the housing affordability plan is the use of sanitary improvement districts. Sanitary improvement districts are something that's not currently used in Lincoln and Lancaster County, but they are a flexible financing tool that we feel can be used to have an impact on the housing market and housing affordability issues in Lincoln, especially when we look at housing as a system and how perhaps using them to provide more attainable housing can also have an impact on the availability of affordable housing. And so with that, our comment is that we don't support comments about not exploring the option of having sanitary improvement districts. I think that while some criticisms of them in the plan are accurate, they're also flexible, and we can learn from the experiences of other communities, from what they've seen with less centralized planning using those, learn from those and tailor an option that can be used to great effect in Lincoln. So with that, again, I want to thank everyone for the effort they put into this plan and are obviously continuing to put into to affect the issue of housing affordability in Lincoln, but also ask us not to take tools off the table at this time. So thank you very much. With that, I will ask if you have any questions.
Any questions?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Testimony in opposition. Okay. Applicant rebuttal. Or staff questions, I guess I should say. It's kind of the same here. Any questions for Mr. Marvin? Or
I just thought I'd come up here and answer questions if there were any. And if not, I think that, I did mention to Ann that I think that assessment districts are listed in the Affordable Action Plan, and I think that, from my perspective, I think they're a similar tool. One of the things this assessment district has that's a little bit more Lincolnized would be that it would be operating within city limits. So you're talking about it's within the school district number 1. So we're not building outside the city limits. And the other issue is we have a long-standing tradition on where we put water and sewer lines. So this would answer that question without making a policy change on that front. But we're certainly willing for creative financing tools, or at least I am. So I'm welcome to listen to all different perspectives.
Great. Any questions for Dan?
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I'll move to close the public hearing.
Second. Go ahead.
Gary?
Okay, have Campbell second. Okay, this is for the approval of Comprehensive Plan Amendment 2000.
That's to close the hearing.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry, we're closing the hearing on Comprehensive Plan Amendment 2001. Thank you. Ball?
Yes.
Campbell?
Yes.
Edgerton?
Yes.
Shear?
Yes.
Beckius?
Yes.
Core?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0.
Move to adopt. Beckius.
Second, Shear.
Discussion.
Yeah, I will go ahead and vote to adopt by reference. The action plan does seem to be an affirmation of the work that's being done in Lincoln, and a good framework for work going forward as well. I was personally hoping to see a set of regulatory reforms come along with this package, and hope to see that here in the near future as well. I am pleased to hear Director Marvin say that maybe there's some use of an assessment district outlook that might be a compromise between a traditional SID, as our friends in Omaha and Douglas County use, because I think that Ms. Post is right in that we have to have every tool at our disposal to attack this. Including tools that both work toward subsidized affordable housing in its true form, but also unsubsidized attainable housing, as I think a lot of first-time home buyers in Lincoln are seeing. Housing is not just first-time home buyers, but all home buyers are seeing housing is getting much more expensive. And a lot of that is not within the city's control, and some of it is. So the things that we can do, I think we should always continue to take a strong look at, and never take anything off the table, and always go back and reassess every so often, are our policies still working for us as a community? And even if they're longstanding policies, should we constantly critique them and see if they still hold value? I think we should always do that. Like I said, I do hope to see some additional reforms coming here soon with the things that we can control within the city of Lincoln, and the regulatory issues that we place on development in our city. So I'm hopeful to see that soon from some party or another. So I will vote to support.
I want to affirm Tom's comments. I agree with them. I want to just put a little bit of focus on the report itself and the process that the city went through to do that with the consultant, and also want to affirm that I think that the data and the basis for the report is really solid, the statistical data that everything is based on, and the goals themselves. I think it was really a well-done process. I think that the COVID pandemic probably hurt the ability for as much public input as the planning department typically likes to utilize in a process like this, but it's solid, and it by nature has to be a public focus kind of report. But I do agree with Tom that there are some things maybe that we can continue to look at here in the near future. I'll be supporting it.
Any other comments? Okay. Jerry?
Okay, this is for the approval of Comprehensive Plan Amendment 20001. Ball?
Yes.
Campbell?
Yes.
Edgerton?
Yes.
Shear?
Yes.
Beckius?
Yes.
Core?
Yes.
Motion carried, 6-0.
Please note that we are suspending the opportunity for anyone wishing to speak on an item not on the agenda until further notice. And I would entertain a motion.
Move to adjourn, Beckius.
Second, Campbell.
Jerry?
Okay. Ball?
Yes.
Campbell?
Yes.
Edgerton?
Yes.
Shear?
Yes.
Beckius?
Yes.
Core?
Yes.
Motion carried, 6-0.
We are adjourned.